Greetings and salutations, everybody, and welcome to this week's Newpreneur cast. Well, here's a question for you, right? So how do you deal with a balancing act in your business? How do you deal in looking at the way you've got life versus business in your year 1, year 2, year 3 of running your business right now? We have to manage our personal lives. We've also got to manage our business relationships whilst we're trying to grow a business in either the first year or the first 5 years. So think about that question today as I welcome my special guest. I've known this lady now for 4 years. It's our anniversary of meeting each other through networking and having that collaboration through her business and, of course, my business of Revitalize. She's been a great support of many people across the country and across the water in the Netherlands as well, helping people really bridge the gap in developing long-term business relationships. We're from the similar industry or same industry. Can you please welcome with me today my special guest? That is Julie Taylor of Buzz Networking. Julie, how are you today?
I'm really well, thank you. The sun is shining in the Netherlands. We'll send it back to the UK for you.
Well, please do that because it's, as we say it up here, it's teeming it down. So it's raining cats and dogs and it's windy. And that's just a typical Scotland weather. So all good. Well, I'm pleased the sunshine is shining for you though, Julie.
Thank you. We need some.
Julie, let's delve in. We've got a coffee. Well, this is my first cup of coffee, everybody. People normally think I've had 16 before 9 o'clock in the morning. Julie's on her 20th. But anyway, God help on this one.
We're an hour ahead, so, I've got to get them in.
Yeah, you got to put it in there, haven't you, really? So, Julie, we're talking about your first year in business, and we were just chatting about that offline, just in the sort of the green room we want to call before we went live this morning. What was your first year in business like?
Yeah, well, I started my business in July of 2023. 2023, yep. And do people like to go networking when the sun's out? Dutch people and people that live or work with Dutch people, they take 3 weeks holiday and they take it super seriously. So I was like, right, get registered. Right, where is everybody? So it gave me time to do my business plan, sit in my office and really sort of get this planned and get people warmed up for it and tell people what I was going to do. But I didn't actually have my first session till the September. So yeah, maybe it was a bit of a luxury of planning, but you just want to get started. You want to get people in a room and get them talking to each other and getting connected. So it was good to have that time, but I just want to start.
But you came from like a LinkedIn profiling, helping people with their LinkedIn presence, etc. And we had many conversations about what you're looking to try and do and how you're going to step out there, crossover, based on The Hague, the Netherlands, all that sort of area, etc. What was the idea behind it first? What gave you that inspiration to literally go and, do you know what? I'm going to do something like this myself.
Well, I think you've really been my mentor. We've never really talked about it. We just sort of like bounce ideas off each other and check in with each other. But really, would I have gone into networking if I hadn't met you? But also, I had a corporate career. And I think the thing is, people network all the time and they don't realize that that's what it is. So I say to my friends and family, it's literally things like your neighbour's getting brand new windows. You want brand new windows. You go and ask them where they got their windows from. That's networking. Or you can just say, I'm just going to take a photo of the van while they're not looking, and I'm not going to talk to my neighbour. And then it turns out they had a horrible experience or it was super expensive. So why don't you just talk to people? And also post-COVID, we got a totally different thing that we never expected, which forced us online, forced us to talk to people. Otherwise, we're just going to talk to four walls. And working on your own, running your own business, unless you've been to and done an MBA, been to some business school or something, or read all the business books or something, we don't have all the tools, skills, knowledge, connections to do it.
No.
So that's where we need to get out there and meet people.
Do you know what's really interesting? Again, I use that word always interesting, but it's what always makes me think about it, right? Is people try to sell to each other.
Yeah.
Something you just mentioned there, right? And I was talking to somebody again over the past week, or was just about talking to people. was literally just open up a conversation. Networking isn't that hard because you're trying too hard to get a sale. But if you just start chatting to one another, you identify areas that you can help each other. And that person looking to go and tap on a door and say, listen, who's done your windows for you? Can you pass them on to me? Because I'm looking for that. That is the most simplest way of networking in general that you can do just within your family and friends that's in there. So, but what was that transition like from a corporate job, right? The corporate industry that you were in, to transfer it, actually saying, was there a realization you went, I'm actually working for myself now?
Yeah, I mean, I actually call myself the accidental entrepreneur. I don't come from a background of entrepreneurs. Nobody I know. Well, I've got a couple of friends back in Edinburgh that run their own business, but I don't hang out with these people. So I'm just like, oh, this is a bit new. However, because who I connect here in the Netherlands tend to be expats and internationals and Dutch people as well, we don't exclude them, have changed. They've moved countries. Is I say, well, keep changing. And actually, a friend of mine, she didn't actually know how things were going in my business or anything. She just randomly messaged me and said, would you not like just a nice 4-day-a-week job? And it was just like, apart from the fact I'm probably unemployable now because I've got too much to, I call it continuous improvement. People probably think, oh God, here she is again with a red pen out thinking she can change the world. But if there's something not right, I want to say and say, this could be a bit easier if you did this, or have you thought about that, or feedback form. So I'm a bit like, if you change once, why don't you keep changing? It's a bit too easy to just, if I wanted an easy life, I'd be living back in my hometown, working at the bank like everybody did. I did do that for a while.
Yeah.
And it was a good basis, don't get me wrong, of how to, structure your day, and that we don't get sucked into watching cat videos or something. The structure and the discipline of work in an office environment obviously helped me. But now it's just like I can do anything I want, anywhere I want, with anyone I want, within reason. That sounds really dodgy, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And once you start get the taste for it, there's no real going back, I don't think.
Yeah. It's funny though you say that word about being unemployable, because you get to a point where you think I can't go back to full-time employment, and you've literally built something over many, many years. You've got all the building blocks in place, you've got all the foundations organized as well, you've built up all these connections around you, you've got like a circle of business owners, mentors, people that can actually help you from that. And then you look at something and think, well, I'm in destiny of my own time, or in control of my own destiny, I should say, sorry. I'm actually controlling what I do on a daily basis. When I wake up in the morning, I decide what I want to do. I decide what's on my action list to actually hit today. Action, I wrote my action points this morning over a cup of coffee before I jumped online. I thought, right, that's the 4 key things I need to do today, and I need to do them. I need to take action on them as well. But you're in control of doing that. But here's the thing though, Julie, right? Especially for me, the accidental entrepreneur, love that. That's a great name of a new book, everybody. So watch out, because that'll be a good name for a new book, right? But we do fall into it, right? Because everyone who starts a business falls into why they're doing that for. But did you have some things in that first year of going, right, buzz networking, the name, looking at the dynamics that went behind it? Did you make some mistakes in that first year?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many, and actually that was a really popular post on LinkedIn because people love a personal post. I know LinkedIn's not Facebook, and we don't necessarily need to see what you had for your dinner. Maybe there was somebody super famous sat across the other side of the restaurant, I don't know. And I think we touched on this last time, but I'm happy to go through them again. But my first one was research. I got my research wrong. I did spend some time doing it. That was before I embraced chat, so it was me scratching my head in a very hot room that July. But I thought people like creatives won't want to come networking. And I got that wrong because I met somebody through Toastmasters. I don't know if you've got it over there, but it seems super popular here. And they were like, I'm a creative, I'd love to come. I was like, yeah, come along. So I got that wrong. Thought they won't want to come. I couldn't finish my business plan. I think it's always going to be an ever evolving thing. But when you have to say how much income I'm going to make in the first year, you're just like, just don't know.
Like that.
It's just like, so, but just write anything, obviously, you know, with a bit of structure about what you're going to offer and who your potential people are and times that up. But put something down, something to aim for. But yeah, it can be a bit of a struggle. It doesn't have to be something bound in leather and printed out, but it could be one pager. It could be scribbled out, but just do something. Don't ask me about this year's plan though. The next one I'd say is I put trust in others, and you know, I'm not young person, and I feel like I've met a lot of people, but I think it wasn't necessarily trust. It was more that I wanted them to do well, and they weren't ready for it. So it was a collaboration I was looking to do, and actually, as part of the sort of transient people of the sort of international expats that may necessarily not stay here long term, some of them are like me, didn't plan to be a business owner, but some people really haven't got the skills to do it and are not looking to upskill either. And they're just panicking. And I call them the hobby business owners. Lovely, lovely people, but they need to go and do some courses or upskill or something, because just this chaos isn't going to get anything done. So maybe it is that they go and get a 2-day-a-week job just to also to switch the brain off a little bit, so they can switch their entrepreneur brain off. And then when they're doing their entrepreneur days, they're focused on that. So yeah, I had to pull the plug on that because that person just wasn't, who was a creative, just wasn't being creative. I was like, go there. I can't afford the train fare. I was like, I can't afford the train fare. Nobody's going to pay my train fare. I'm going to pay it myself. So it's about the bootstrapping your business from the beginning. You know, we don't have a pot of gold to start with. So somebody's going to put some money in somewhere, and it's probably going to have to be yourself.
Yeah.
The next one wasn't really a mistake as such, but it did feel like, oh, this day, you know, year one of business is costing a bit of money, is the investing money on legal documents for my contracts. And I was just like, because I was in that conversation where I thought somebody was going to convert, and I was like, right, let's get these contracts in. And it didn't come to anything. I was like, okay, I've just spent some money on some contracts I can't do anything with, but I use them another time. And they're great foundations, because the conversation could have been the other way. Got a client ready, and I haven't got any contacts in the legal space, and they are quite a rare beast, I find. Over here I've probably got about 2. And yeah, because is there a lot of money in it for the legal people to help the single person business? They like to, and they like hanging out with them, but yeah, we all got to look where the money is. And then the last one, but there was many more, was the seasonal market, ignoring the seasonal market. And every summer in the Netherlands, it's tough to run in-person networking because people go away for 3 weeks holiday. And also, if they're freelancers, they probably go back to their home country for a few months because they can do it online. So they can maybe sublet. I'm not getting into what people do with their own properties. But so I'm going to come up with something new this summer. So I've been thinking about that for a while. So I can't make people sit in a hot room for 2 hours and look at one of my PowerPoints. That's for sure.
No, and it should be about that, really. But it's, you know, you talk about like what you've just gone. Thanks for sharing that, right? But it's when we're going through those stages, and I call it one class them as mistakes, right? What I should do is reverse back, right, and say they're learning curves.
Yeah.
If we don't do them, we'll not learn from them. And if we don't adapt from them, we won't get better at them. And sometimes you got to feel extremely uncomfortable, and something may not work the right way straight every time. But as long as you can learn from it, adapt to it, and then also leverage the people around you that can give you advice on how to get through it as well. That is one of the biggest keys in sort of like first year in business, because I was the same way. I mean, when I first started off, Julia, I thought the name. That's all. I thought I just want to bring people together, coffee, conversation, and just bring people together. That's it. That's what I'd like to do. And I got my own little idea in my head. And then when I'm sitting down and I'm watching everybody, I just came up with a name, and the name popped up. And then it wasn't until about sort of 6 months later in 2018 till I started creating a membership. I then went as a limited business in November 2018. So I thought, yeah, I've got a business here. I've got a membership subscription. And that was just prior to COVID and lockdown. And, you know, that again, you're thinking, oh no, what's going to happen? It upsets the balance, as we're calling it today, really. But you adapt to it, you address it, and you move through it. And sometimes you get things like you just mentioned there before, like legal contracts and this and the other, that you think you need them, and then you never use them. And we call it the shiny object syndrome, right? They'll go and buy loads of stuff in your first year of business. I need that. I really need it. And you pay the money, but it has to come out your pocket.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the sort of biggest investments was my CRM, which I inherited from my last business. And I was like, yeah, I can work this. I'm not very technical. I can work this. I haven't broken it yet. And then the bill came in and I went, oh, that's why I've got it. But I learned how to use it, and I do email marketing. Whereas before it was just sat there with a nice database of people, and they've got funny tags and little stories about how we met and stuff. But I actually physically do something with it now. I've got landing pages and automations. And luckily, through conversations, through going out networking, I met a couple from The Hague that helps with automations and setting up of email marketing. And I got some funding locally. I was like, tick, tick, cha-ching. And so, you know, the Eventbrite, the Zoom, the Calendly, the Stripe, all get sucked into one place. Yeah. So that was like having a VA in the first year, because I couldn't afford a VA. And it was just like, I love spreadsheets, but I should stay away from spreadsheets. And that thing mostly does its magic unless I press a button and break it. So how to not press that button anymore. So yeah, so I would say good foundations are key. But you know, not to be sold the shiniest, it can do everything and make you a cup of tea. And funnily enough, a few people I've been talking to recently, we've all been watching that video on Facebook about that fancy AI tool. And even somebody I was talking to this week in Dublin, and they were like, have you heard about that? And I said, I did. I watched that video too, with a lovely calming voice. And I thought, oh, this is amazing. They look like little robots. And it was just like, yeah, but you've still got to feed it and press some buttons. It ain't going to be running your business while you sat having a cup of tea down in town with networking. It's not going to run your business on its own. So yeah, AI is pretty cool, but you still need to feed it.
But you know, you talk about, like, so I'm digressing here slightly. I suppose I am slightly, but we talk about CRMs, and I've had recent conversations with many people, and we've got some great people who we know of that's in our remit, in our circle of networking. But there's nothing better than just having a notepad, a pen, and just write down who you're going to phone. And I think there's this ownership now of hands-free phone, right? Just picking up a phone and speaking to somebody. Maybe we should do this little symbol. So go like that. Hello, I'm phoning you, right? But I think there's all these different bits of technology we can use, which are great, which can really help our businesses. And some of them do phenomenally well. I use a lot of them, right? But I still like to pick up the phone and speak to somebody and have that chat, and then sit in front of my laptop and have my calendar open and say, right, I'm sending you an email. There's an invite for you. Have you got it? Yes. Brilliant. Have you got any questions? It's just having that conversation. Now that, and anybody online at the minute, Julia, probably thinking, yeah, Lee, that takes you a lot of time. Yeah, but it's worthwhile in the end. I think it's really worthwhile in the end. So I think there's all these AI tools out there which are brilliant, fantastic, but there's nothing better than just picking up the phone and just having a chat with somebody as well, if you can get through to them.
Yeah, I'm a little bit allergic to the phone because, you know, my Dutch number's now on the Chamber of Commerce list, so any old random can ring me and try and sell to me. So I don't tend to pick the phone up if I don't know. But my WhatsApp's on my website. So if you're a real business person, send me a WhatsApp and tell me who you are. I did get a hello from somebody in South Africa yesterday, and I was just like, how can I help you? And let's see where this conversation goes, unless they're trying to sell me something. But yeah, I'd say January, I made a real effort to personal message people, which again is quite an overhead. But some of these were like following up on for previous conversations, and that did work well. So yeah, the personal touch is important. You know, I think we maybe touched on this before about, I don't like being put through the sausage machine. Sorry, vegetarians, there are vegetarian sausages available. So don't put other people through the sausage machine. And or sheep dipping. I did introduce that to a Dutch person. They didn't know what I meant. Some people don't like to be, we shouldn't all be sheep dipped the same way. So I am the person that if you land on my website, I'm going to ask you quite a few questions because I want to know which country you're in. There's no point me saying, come to Amsterdam next month, come to Amsterdam. And it's just like, I don't live in the Netherlands. I'll need to check my passport and then I might need a visa. No. So I think that's important. And I do get on a bit of a bandwagon about email marketing because, we do have sensitive times of the year. I did get one this week about, did I want to hear about Mother's Day promotions? It was quite a big company, but I'm fine. But, there's other times like Father's Day I don't want to hear about because I don't have my father anymore. So it's just like, that is important if you are going to hit hard with lots of emails, is be aware that some people don't want to hear about certain things and they will unsubscribe. And I actually feed back to people that don't do that and say, especially the big companies, because I think, come on, guys, you've got a marketing department and some spend, not just like you and I that pressing all the buttons and do all the things ourselves, is, have a bit of empathy with people. Rather than just keep sending emails.
No, just send it to a certain point. There's being persistent and being consistent that you want to be with your clients and contacts that you've got and trying to take them to the next stage. But there's a limit that you go to and they go, right, okay, back off, still keep going until they tell me no, within reason. But you've got to be able to slow it down at some point as well. Here's the thing then, right? So, sorry, for anybody who's watching and listening to us now on LinkedIn Live and also on my YouTube channel, which is the handle for my YouTube channel is @LeeFosterOfficial, where you'll find all the recordings that we've got on there for the previous Newpreneur cast that we've got, and Julie's will be uploaded to that today as well. But if you've got any questions or anything you're thinking about, if you're on LinkedIn, click on the comments area, fire it in there, and we actually see it on our screen. So if you got anything you want to ask me or Julie about networking, or especially about Julie's business and our first year, or intrigued about what you've just heard something, just drop your comments and your feedback, or even just say, like we just said, hello to everybody. Just drop it in the comment box if you don't mind. So we've talked a little bit about that. What I'd like to know, though, talk about getting yourself set up in your business, right? And I know what my time was like at the beginning. You're trying to do everything you can imagine. And you're doing the phone calls, you're doing the automation, you're doing the CRMs, you're trying to get things into place, you're setting up the vehicle for the long journey, right? How do you balance out your home life and business life at the same time? Because you're now working from home. How did you find that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be the one that, still be working at 7:00 at night. And also we get to that age where we pop to the toilet in the middle of the night. If the dangerous thing is the work brain switches on and it's about 6 or something, obviously depends what time you go, might just start working. So, and probably have a little dabble on a weekend as well. And I do hang out on Instagram in the evenings. I am there. So yeah, you just got to try not to do everything. And I was talking to somebody yesterday about it, is you step over your own boundary once with a client and you've opened that door. So unless they're going to do something really that's going to cause a massive problem, is if you say you're not available, be unavailable. It sounds a bit tough, but your time is precious. I probably didn't prioritize my health so much. I've now got a personal trainer, so I'm out at least 2 nights a week. The weeks are flying when you do something like that rather than just chain to your laptop. And I'm also happy to talk about the first year. I hadn't even reached the first year in business, and my husband had a heart attack in front of me early one morning. So yeah, that wasn't planned.
No.
And
how did that feel? Sorry, do you mind me asking? I mean, when something like that happens and it's in your household and you're just in the first year, how did you deal with it, and how did you work around that, especially to support your husband through that as well?
Yeah. So luckily I've got some amazing friends that pick up the phone at 5 a.m. in the morning, because I was just panicking, as you could imagine. And yeah, so they helped me through it, and he was on life support for 5 days, and it's like being, I probably could just kept saying it was so unreal. If anybody's been through, I'm here to empathize with you, because it just totally pulls the rug, and you just can't think straight. Nothing, your brain doesn't fire in the right way. And actually, one of the speakers that was going to be my online speaker, Eddie Sand, I just sent him a message, and he was like, yeah, fine. And then you just stop everything, and you just message people and say it's not happening, that there is no business at the minute. And somebody actually said to me, he's all doing really well now. He was in hospital for almost a month. The healthcare system here is amazing. And then obviously I could be at home with him to help him get him fit again, because he couldn't even get up the stairs, couldn't walk to the kitchen from the sofa for many, many months, and take him to all these appointments and everything. Is somebody said to me, you're successful. I said, are we measuring this by how much money I got in my bank, or the fact that I could be there for my husband? And actually, my friends that helped me through that process, they said, you're lucky in a way, because after a few days of being sat next to him in ICU, is people, if I was employed, my boss would be saying, well, can you take some work in with you? And, can you do, they would ask you to do that. So, so what can we say? That was 2 to 3 months of not really being present in my business. And did it all fall down by its ears? Well, just nothing really happened in person. Online, the first in-person session, the speaker was amazing. She was checking in on me through it, because I was running the event looking at my phone, because I just had to make sure he was at home on his own for one of the first times, to just make sure that he was cared for. So yeah. And he's rebooted now. He's doing amazing.
He's doing amazing now. He's feeling a lot stronger in himself now as well. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got promotion at work. He's traveling all over the world and
good.
Doing
but
amazing.
taking time out for him and for you, though, that's the most important part.
Yeah, and it was about not feeling guilty or trying to work, because if your head's not in it, you're just gonna make a holy mess of it all.
Yeah.
And even when I worked in corporate, and felt the pressure, is I always knew if I was working, made one mistake, it was like, right, all those emails and all that work will be here tomorrow, so it's time to go home, because you're just going to undo all the good work you've done. Correct. So to everything for just to sort of stop and then slow down and gradually build up again,
So is that sort of changed your sort of weekly dynamic now? Is it made you look at thinking, right, I'm switching off at 5, you go to the PT, you're doing time out for yourself, you're spending time with you and your husband more now than before?
Yeah.
Has it made that cause and effect for yourself though, Julie?
Yeah, I think so, because we say about working harder, working smarter, and it's just like nobody ever lays on the deathbed and wishes they'd sent more emails. That is a fact. Is I do get to a certain point in the day and I go, especially like today, it's a nice sunny day, so we've got this session, and then I'll do some other work. But we've actually got an appointment to go get a permanent residence permit, and I might answer a few messages, but I plan to come back and chain myself to the laptop again, even though I've been away in Dublin all this week. So obviously any of my members or contacts that I promised something I've forgotten, please message me. But apart from that, it'll all be there tomorrow. And and also because running a business is so many things, and so many things you can do doesn't mean we have to do it all. And one of the speakers this week was talking about, looking after yourself and charging your own batteries first. And I don't think anybody's impressed. If somebody came to one of my in-person meeting next week in Leiden and just saw me like, big bags under my eyes and just not very motivated and looking to connect people and energized, it's just like, what sort of role model? I'm not here as a role model, but I can't say run a business, it's great, because I'm just totally running myself into the ground. Yeah. It's business. It's a bit like a job. It's like sometimes we just need to switch off.
Yeah.
And nothing will crash around your ears. It'll all be fine.
It's like I think with everything that you do, you've got to keep the positivity going. You've got to keep the energy going. I've had a few things that have came along in my life that have happened that literally takes you off. But the beauty of working for yourself is that you go, do you know what? I'm not there. It'll still run. It'll still be available. Or I'll move things around. Or you have people around you that can actually step in on your behalf if you want to. Mm-hmm. But I'm at the stage now as well. I'll share this with you, Julie. Right. So on an evening, everything goes away in my office. It just all gets put away in my remote office and puts in the wall. It gets put in my cupboard in the wall, and then it's all away. And we can sit and have dinner together on a night time. You know, it's just then it's all gone. It's all put away. Which I think is really important to do mentally wise as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also as well that you're saying about the fitness routines and the exercise that you're doing, you have to take time to do that. You know, I do something that at least twice a week, but you know, I'm getting back into doing a routine every single day. That sets me up for the morning, but I'll probably not do anything or try not to be online till after a certain time of the morning, till I've had my cup of coffee, which is really important. I've sat and wrote down my notes of the day and something I'm looking at. Just even last night, listening to one of my audiobooks, was thinking, okay, what are my goals and objectives for tomorrow? And I'll write them out this morning, which I have done. And I thought I'm going to review those goals and objectives at the end of the day as well. And I'll see if I've hit those goals and if I've made those action points really work for us. So yeah, I think we're talking about this as a subject today. The biggest challenge we've got as business owners is time.
Yeah.
And it's balancing the time out. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. Because I know one of your members, Mark Douglas, say it's not work-life balance, it's life.
Yep, I love that. Well, he's sitting on the topic all the time, but yeah, it's true.
And that's it. And you know, and actually, we've done something intentional last year, which we got a new member of staff, the Chief Disruption Officer, the Red Fox Labrador puppy, to keep us active, to take us away from our work and drag us out when it's raining sideways and windy and horrible. And, you know, I'm averaging about 4K a day, whereas I'd just happily sit on my backside and do some more work. But also I go into quite a different state while I'm walking in, because people are saying to me, oh, listen to audiobooks. I don't listen to podcasts. I don't read business, but I just don't really feel I have the time to do it. And I don't want to do it when I go to bed because it gives me more ideas. So, and they said, oh, we'll listen to podcasts while you're walking the dog. And I'm like, no, I'm watching him because he just likes to pick everything up in his mouth. But I go into a different state. It's not quite meditation. I don't know what it is, but I'm very much present, which sounds very cheesy and naff, but it's just like, it is incredibly calming, and it does sort of break up the day, whether I want it breaking up or not. That day gets broken up. I work less hours than I ever have done before. Right. But I'm fitter. And is the business suffering? Well, hopefully not. I don't think it is. I'm quite happy where things are. And, you know, onwards and upwards.
Do you not find, and I'm just going to give a shout out here, we've got Steve Lees on there, the coach for growth, who joined us last week on my podcast interview as well as my special guest. So thanks, Steve, for joining us and putting your comments on there. It's great to see you, Julie, Queen of the Bees. Doesn't mention me, but he's mentioned Queen of the Bees in there. Thanks for that, Steve.
But what do they call your gang? Are they the revitalizers? What do you call them?
It sounds like Young Guns from the 1980s. Revitalizers, mount up! Right? It's that's like, but I think, well, sorry, digressing there slightly. But I do think you've got to take time out for you. You've got to put personal development in place. I think it's really important. And especially when you're looking at that, if you hadn't done what you've done and what you've been through, do you feel now that your business is starting to grow because you've put these new items in place? If things hadn't happened before, would you be in a different place? Do you understand what I'm saying? You'd be in a different place now if you didn't address those and gone through that stages.
Yeah, I think so, because you know, we're a pretty similar age, aren't we, Lee? And it's all about experiences and people we've met and things we've heard and consumed, not intentionally, but just all this information. And also not necessarily jumping on the next thing. You know, I love social media and I do it for clients as well. And visibility, you have to tell people what you do. You don't have to be the best kept secret. And you know, you do it at your own pace, your own way. And the thing when people say, especially the people I speak to that are just starting, I don't know what to say and I don't feel confident. And I'm just like, it's your story.
Yeah.
People can't call you out on your life and your experiences. It's impossible. They haven't lived your life.
Correct.
So, and actually one lady that came along to one of my complimentary brainstorming sessions I run every week, she said, you know, I'm really introverted, and introverts are the best networkers, as we know, Lee. It's just like, how do I start? And she told us why she wanted to start a business. I said, well, there's your first post.
Yeah.
And it's the turning out the outcome to the first thing, rather than I've got so many years experience, I'm so educated, I've read all these books. And it's like, that's wonderful, but don't we think quite a few other people have done that? What have you done that's different than anybody else? What can you tell us that's different?
Yeah.
What have you done went wrong? What did you learn from it? So nobody likes things going wrong.
No.
And actually, when I lived in Scotland before I moved here to the Netherlands, somebody said this. This was about not actually getting a house that we would put a bid in for. What's for you won't go past you. And at the time, it just felt really like, well, I didn't get that house, and I really wanted that house. But actually, when you let it in a bit, you're just like, the house you get will be the one you actually really wanted. And if you look back at the one, and it's same with opportunities, same with clients that you're talking to that don't quite happen.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think it just, we've mentioned it again today, it's taking action and making something happen with it. Steve's put a quote in there, and thank you for adding that in there, Steve, being involved and engaged in the chat on LinkedIn there. And if you have got any questions, everybody, if you want to make a statement or share some thoughts or some feedback, drop it into the chat. It's great to see that in there. Bit of engagement, but being present, being in the room. The book I read last night was from a gentleman called Grant Cardone. Okay, and I've read it many times, and every time I read it, I always pick something up from it. And one of the things he says in that is omnipresence. You've heard of omnipresence. It's just being everywhere and being known for what you do in a good way. Do you know, just getting out there. And you know, and it's like what Steve's saying there, be in the room, be with the people. You know, I get so many people that say, well, I couldn't make it, I couldn't fit in my time schedule, or someone else has came up, I need to move my schedule around completely, or I wasn't in the room, I missed that opportunity. Yeah, you weren't in the room, so you did miss that opportunity. You know, we've all done it, we've all been down that road, but it's dedicating the time to it. And I think if you're not in it, how can people pass items to you? You know, and I think that's, and if you're not getting your message out there, if you're not getting your message out there, it's important. Would you agree?
Totally. And I'm not as bad as I used to be about missed opportunity, FOMO. That used to be a real thing. I'd be like, oh, I'm so, you know, so therefore take action, make it happen. Book these things into your diary. And I'm still quite surprised that people, you know, once we're adults and we've got responsibilities of family, children, kids, you know, and all these appointments, why we never prioritize ourselves and what we want as business owners. So first of all, surely we want a break, we want holidays, so get that in the diary. That should never be a surprise, especially if it's a family wedding or something, so it's months ahead. So why that's not blocked out your diary? I took a leaf out of your book really early on about not making myself available on a certain day. So Fridays, apart from obviously for you, Lee, my diary is not wide open. Why is that? So I can catch up. And I might actually, I'm not as on it as you and your follow-ups. I am a little bit, you know, I'll get around it at some point. But life gets in the way.
It's key to do. You've got to do it.
I know it's key, and it's in there. And I was doing it on the plane, and you know, any opportunity I could.
Don't make excuses up now. You just.
I'm not making excuses. Except if I did it while I was walking the dog, I might drop my phone in the canal.
Yes.
Is that I want a quality response as well, not just I think I've read this and here's a link and that should do it. It's like I want to find out exactly what they want to do. So anybody that's waiting on for a response, you're going to get one, and it's going to be a good one when you get it. So so I say to people, don't beat themselves up about the, you know, 24 hours, this and the other. Is just keep your promises. Definitely do that. And introductions. I've actually was telling somebody how to do an introduction on LinkedIn as well, because they were trying to do one to me, and it was like, well, I'll send them. And I was just like, just do a 3-way conversation on LinkedIn. So yeah. How do you do that?
Yeah, we'll tell them after about that. We'll tell them after.
Yeah, we'll tell them after.
So I think it's one thing you've mentioned on there was that is taking time out during your week. That's something I've implemented probably from the end of last year, actually. So for me, I take one day in the week that is just literally for me and the family. And it's literally, it's midweek. So I want to do that. It's not a Friday, but it's midweek. I'll take it. And it's a nice way of just going, yeah, I can disconnect for the day. And then I'm back on it again to wrap up the week the next day. And that'll be my sort of home day, or like I enjoy doing this. So it's Fridays for me, it's chatting to people in the morning and sharing that experience. But I think you're right, Julie. There's so many people out there who are, unfortunately, what I'm mentioning, the reason why I wanted to bring up the balancing act with yourself today and that sort of topic and the life versus business and, the year one and beyond, and then looking at those. And thank you for sharing that with me today. And, what you've been with your husband and everything else been going through as well. So I'm going to come to that in a second, Steve, as well. I'll come to that one in a minute. But I think it's so right to take time out for you, but to plan it in advance and go, right, that's my days. That is my weekend holiday. Because a lot of people get to burnout, wonder why they've got there for, or unfortunately a health matter happens and we don't know what's going to happen around the corner unless we're protecting ourselves for it.
Yeah.
And taking time out for this, for our mental area side of it as well, for the mental health of ourselves individually, and also the physical health, which complements each other if you do it the right way. Steve's put a question in there. It's a good one question, actually, Steve, to put that in there for me and Julie. So what advice do you have for prioritizing all the competing activities?
Do you want me to answer that one?
You go into that one.
I'll have a go. Right. Okay.
Hang on,
Well, I also am an accountability coach. So I bring my background of project management that I did in banking. And also, I'm an overwhelmed business owner. There's so much to do, so much we could do. It doesn't mean we have to do it. So prioritizing, I think, like you said about reflecting on what you're going to do today is, I'd probably say a maximum of 3. And I did take some advice from somebody quite a few years ago about doing it the night before. And so, yeah, and I'm not saying do 3 and, they were really quick things. I finished an hour. So then plan forward. So and I'd say use time blocking as well. But competing activities is trying to map out, is there some link between them all? Because, again, it's like, because I've been in quite operational roles before, some of it's really fast paced, especially if, like yourself running events. I mean, you've run large summits and things like that. I'm not doing anything like that, but things change constantly. But is it worth responding like a machine gun to all of those, or just going, hang on a minute, what's going on here? What's the underlying thing? Can we quickly do a form or send out an email rather than trying to respond to everybody in different platforms? And so it's about analyzing what's urgent, why it's urgent, and you've still got to make sure that you pick 3 because you can't do 10 things that are urgent all at the same time.
No,
it's impossible.
And I think as well, Julie, from my side as well, and for yourself, Steve, is the hardest word is to say no. And also, I think one of the big things I speak to people a lot, all the time about, is being disciplined of what your plan is for the month, 2 months, 3 months ahead. Stick to the plan. What's your goal? What's your objective? And sometimes if you got competing, and get me right if I'm wrong with this, Steve, you can message me directly as well. We're going to have a chat afterwards. But for me, it's actually looking at, that's in my diary. I stick to it. Nothing else goes in the diary. I've just got that in there now. And you stick to what's in there, in that default diary. And it could be monthly priority 1 tasks that you do every single month that they have to be in there. They don't move. They're in there. And then there's other things in there that will definitely be happening every month as part of the things that you're doing, or your business and your coaching or things like that as well. But then there's also some maybes you might drop in or might be able to adjust that's in there. That will always happen, I believe. I'm a stickler that'll stick to the rule book, Julie, every single month. So I'll plan out my month to go, right, that's my month. That's what's going on. That's what I'm going to. This is when I've got time out. This is when I'm working from home. This is what I want to achieve. And I'm more now than ever, especially with my coach I'm working with, is looking at the objectives that I want to achieve in that month. And that's why I'm now starting to do this sort of action list every single morning and night on that 3 points or 4 key areas that I'm really forwarded onto. For me, there's usually 4 that I'll have in there that I'll work through. Easy.
Overachieving there.
Well, why not?
Why stretch goals?
Why not?
Why not?
I woke up this morning after reading the book yesterday. I went, yeah, why not? Set some real mega goals in place and go, yeah, I'm going to knock those out the park. But the only person who can do it is me. So if I don't do something about it, it's not going to happen. So I think prioritizing, you've got to prioritize, Steve. You've had this conversation a few times as well, is you've got to prioritize what's happening month by month. For me as well, like Julie's saying, is stick to it, stick to the rule, be disciplined with it as well. I think that's a real key point to it. So, but good question.
And I think great question. And also is, as you sort of map it out, what's the time suck? And is that the time you need a CRM, you need a virtual assistant, you need to stop doing something so manual? And what's it bringing you? Who's expecting that of you? Who's promised you were going to do that? Yeah. Also, like you were saying about no is that's another name for a book. No is also an answer. Because when you start out in business,
this is really good. I'm going to write these down.
Oh, these are really good. I'm trademarking these. Nobody else is getting these.
That's too late.
And my husband used to say this as well. And I think it's when I was so like, I'm an entrepreneur, we're going to do this and it's going to be amazing. And he said, they might say no. And he wasn't being negative because it comes from a book called Red Teamers. And it's about how you get people together in a project and somebody's like stress testing your idea or your concept and trying to find holes in it, but not in that person that's just being negative. They're just trying to make sure that it will work. And have you thought of everything? So yeah, there's that. And also, like you said about, sort of appointments you've got in the diary, is still talking to people. I was talking to somebody yesterday about, do you have qualifying questions when people book in with your Calendly? Are you just going to talk to everybody? Because I had a call with somebody probably about a year and a half ago, and I actually declined his call because it sounded like he was going to sell to me. I didn't really understand what it was, and I didn't really have the time at the. And when we talked, we had a lovely conversation. Nothing actually came from it, but I'm going to follow up with him and say that I've been talking about him on YouTube. Is he said to me at the end, "Well done for trying to cancel me." I said, "Well, you weren't very clear. There was questions, but he was like avoiding the questions, and it was just like we're wasting each other's time. It's not a matter of you're a salesperson trying to sell to me. You haven't even checked that I might be interested, so you think you might get a sale, but we're just totally not aligning." And so
brilliant, absolutely superb, Julie. Thank you so much. Well, I'm going to bring things to a wrap now, if that's okay. And
you're going to wrap. You're going to wrap for us.
Rap. I'm not going to rap. I'm not singing. Nobody ever wants to hear me sing, by the way. So, and especially doing a rap in a Geordie accent, it wouldn't go down too well. There's a couple of the guys that actually do that, and they sound a lot better than I do. Okay, begins with rubble that's in there.
Yes.
Or rumble should be in there. So big thank you, Julie. Thank you so much for joining me this week. It's been great to delve into the conversations even further and to really find out a bit more about the balancing act, really.
Definitely. Pleasure. And I've loved coming over and meeting you guys in person, and I will be back very soon. So it was great, the summit last November. So yeah. My business family over in the UK. So
exactly. Well, we've got a good collaboration going with Buzz Networking and the Revitalized Networking Club going forward. And there's a lot of your digital bees who are joining who get that virtual membership package bolted into their system for them as well. So they're getting the best of both worlds with all my online format and all of your wonderful online activities as well. And mega networking activity value that's in there as well. So massive thank you. And it's been a great 4 years as well. Thank you so much, Julie. There's many more years to come also.
I think so too.
And as always on hand to ask any questions and for us to put the brainstorming ideas together and help you along the journey. Massive thanks to everybody who's watched and for listening today as well. And thank you, Steve, for joining us on LinkedIn. Mr. Steve Lees from Coach of Growth, jumping on there and asking some questions and giving some responses in there as well. Please don't forget, click the little bell and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Lee Foster Official. We've got many more guests coming up over the next 17 weeks. I can't believe this is only the 3rd week, by the way. But we've got 17 wonderful guests lined up over the weeks coming up, all about sharing their stories and really delving at the topics and subjects that I put across to them as well. So if you want to watch back, go to the YouTube. There's many more videos on there, especially our last 2 with Steve Lees and Michael Melvin. That's in there as well. But once again, thank you from me and thank you from Julie. I hope you all have a wonderful week ahead. And as always, everybody, just keep connecting and just keep talking. Thanks again. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.